100,000 believers present, going from just one believer to 100,000. But what did it take? It took over 20 years of perseverance for that to take place. Another story or events that took place to highlight his perseverance is, like we mentioned before, the year of sorrow where Prophet ﷺ lost Khadija, the mother of the believers, his wife, and then also lost Abu Talib, his uncle, that stood up for him. That year was very difficult because he lost two very important figures to him. And not only that, but afterwards that was followed by his visit to At-Ta'if, where they, instead of welcoming him and listening to his message, they asked the peasants of At-Ta'if to throw him with rocks and stones. And for a man to go 50 miles or so walking on his bare feet to spread a message and to have the response of younger children line up in the streets and throw rocks and stones at him, for him to stand back up and decide to continue on this path of spreading Islam and spreading the message, that takes great leadership and great perseverance. And that is a message to all of us to not give up. And then the last one that I'd like to mention, which is during the hijrah of Prophet Muhammad from Mecca to Medina. We all know that at this time, the mushrikeen, the disbelievers of Mecca, had made up their mind that none of their plans beforehand had worked in terms of offering him money or offering him status. At this point, they decided that the only way they can end this message is by killing him. And as we mentioned before, that they decided to line up in front of his house and grab a man from each of the different tribes and kill him in one blow. And so that was their plan. Their plan was to kill him. So during that time of his travel from Mecca to Medina, as you all know, he went to Ghar Thawr. He went to the cave of Thawr, stayed there for a few days, which was not in the straight path from Mecca to Medina, but was actually going in the opposite direction in order to avoid or go away from those that were following him from Mecca. But one of the disbelievers at the time, he heard about the reward of anyone that was able to find Prophet Muhammad and either return him to Mecca, or if not able to, kill him on the spot. The reward was 100 camels. So Suraqa ibn Malik, at the time, he heard about this great reward, and he decided to follow Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in order to receive that reward of 100 camels. And he was very skilled and following the footsteps, tracking and going behind the footsteps to find where the people were. So he was able to do that, and he was able to follow Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and he was able to find him in the desert. And at that point where he could see Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and Prophet ﷺ could see him, at that point he got stuck in the sand and he got paralyzed and such. So he asked Prophet ﷺ to pray for him. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, what did he promise him? He promises him at this point, he promises him the bangles, the hard golden bracelets of Kisra, the king of Persia at the time. So how is this relevant? How does this relate? This is relevant because Prophet Muhammad ﷺ knew that Islam will be spread and will spread to Persia, will spread across the Arab Peninsula and beyond. Now, alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we have over 1.5, 1.8 billion Muslims. He knew that Islam was going to spread. It wasn't hesitation. It was not a matter of, I think it will happen, if we work hard, possibly. No, he knew it, and he was dedicated, and he worked very hard to reach that goal. So when he promised him the bangles of Kisra, he knew that was going to happen. And surely during the time of Umar radiallahu anhu, during the time of his Khilafah, when he was the Khalifa, They the bracelets of Kisra came to him, and he gave them to Suraqa ibn Malik. So those are a few stories demonstrating, like I mentioned, being goal oriented, having that perseverance, and which better person or leader or role model to learn from than Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So at this time, um, I'd like to open it for discussion for us to share some examples in our personal lives where we think we can demonstrate being goal oriented and having that perseverance. And if there's a certain story that you personally can relate to from what I shared or from other examples of the story of Prophet ﷺ, please feel free to. So now I'll open it up for discussion, and Jazakumullahu khairan. So let me see. I think we have here a few. Yeah, feel free to share anything that you would like. How do you think perseverance? What are some examples that we can implement that into our lives?
I think we can implement perseverance in our life through like times like right now where everybody's going through hardships. There's a big, we play going around the world and everybody has their own problems. So I think, if we stick together and everyone helps each other, I think we can move through this together. And, we don't leave anybody behind. Everybody just keeps trying, keeps going, do what the best they could.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Sohaib, for sharing that. SubhanAllah, I think that's a great example of perseverance on multiple fronts. One being that it's our tendency, especially for the youth, to want to go out and whether it's go out and just have activities such as like running and playing sports, or just hang out together. That's sort of something that we really long for doing, and it's sort of just like our tendency. That's something that we have grown up doing, and it's the norm for us. But now, for a few months to stay at home and not be able to do that, I think it takes patience and perseverance for that to take place. Yep. But then also the healthcare workers and those on the front lines to be able to go to work every day to the hospital and be there around patients that might have this virus, but decide to be there every day and take care of them, knowing the risk of they might get it themselves. I think that also takes perseverance.
Yeah.
Can you think
So
of
I would say something about the month of Ramadan. The time we're in right now is being impacted by all what's going on in the stay-at-home orders. It's not easy to continue to do what we used to do in Ramadan, and it takes some kind of strong will and perseverance from people to be able to continue praying Taraweeh and to continue reciting Quran and to continue to do the things that they used to be able maybe to do by going to the masjid and just find the group doing it and following the group. But now it's all upon you to do that yourself at home. And that itself takes a lot of strong will and persistence from you to be able to continue doing that with yourself or with your family on the small scale at home, inshallah.
Absolutely. Jazakallah khair for sharing that. Yeah, it's definitely not easy, or it's definitely more difficult to continue to have that perseverance in that worship when at home and not having that encouragement of your friends and your peers around you at the masjid. So it takes strong will. But I hope that with this comes greater reward, inshallah. Okay, inshallah. So alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Today was we visited the attribute of being goal oriented and having that perseverance. Alhamdulillah, we mentioned several events that took place during the story of Prophet Muhammad, and then we did some reflection on that. So Jazakumullah khair for your time, and hopefully you can join us next Tuesday here at 5:30 on Zoom, so that inshallah we can discuss the next attribute of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Barakallahu feekum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.